state of joy and happiness and having fun with life is what my life is about. And I hope to share that with you. You know, we don't have to be all solemn and in order to be spiritual. So it's about us being that light that we want to see in the world. Squeaky, okay. And so I'm excited to be here. I do want to ask, so if you were here this weekend, even if you were here one or both, if you just raise your hand. So a lot of folks were with us this weekend. And I know there were even more that I'm not seeing here that were here with us like yesterday. So they're either in mourning or they were exhausted. So, you know, and I'm not rubbing that in. It was like we kind of watched a little of the game last night, and it just took a little to know that we didn't want to watch the whole game. So, anyway, next year, right? You know, nothing, what we have grown to know and trust is that nothing is permanent. It's all a temporary state of being. And that goes for football and hockey and life. So, well, I am so happy to be here and so happy that we got to do what we've done this weekend. You know, Charles Fillmore, one of our co-founders, he said, thoughts are things, they have tremendous power. Thoughts of doubt and fear are pathways to failure. When you conquer negative attitudes and doubts and fear, you conquer failure. Thoughts crystallize into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstances. So what does that tell us? It's all, and actually this weekend we talked about it not being here, but that it is that 18-inch journey. It's our thoughts that we embed in our heart space that take root, take hold. You know, we've heard the thing, thoughts and mind reproduce after their kind. And we've heard, if you're a Mike Dooley follower, you know, thoughts are good things, you know, things like that. And this is true. And I know when I first found unity, it was like I'd have a thought and I'd go, oh, you know, that was bad. I don't want to be creating that. And then what I realized as I did more work in my own spiritual development, it takes more than just letting the thought flow through my mind. I have to grab hold of it. And then grab hold of it and bring it into my being. And so when I do that, that's when I really begin the manifestation process. Do y'all agree? When we add feeling, as we talked this weekend, for me, when I add joy around something that I'm holding in my heart, which joy to me is the jet fuel of manifestation, it fires it up. When I add joy to it, then I am really in that creative process. What we did this weekend is actually start a creative process. We had our beginning in a manifestation of a new way of being for this community and the community at large, out, just not just in, I'm dingling, okay, not just the community that is surrounding this, or not just the state, but the global community, or even the universal community. Because we know that there are no limitations on the expansiveness of our energy, true? If we don't know that, then we can talk about that too at another time. But it is the truth that our energy goes out beyond us. It's not something that's just right here. You are a living magnet, Charles Fillmore said, and what you attract into your life is in harmony with your dominant thoughts. Oh, okay. So what we did this weekend is, it's really a challenge to have an organization, a group of people, even a family, to know the direction they're going in if they don't establish some sort of a guideline or a map or whatever. How many of you have driven from here to a particular address in, let's say Washington State, without a GPS, without a road map, without anything like that? Would you set off on that journey with no guidance? Probably not. For one thing, you'd probably never get there, because you don't have a focus, you don't have a target, you don't have a goal. And so what we did this weekend is we worked on 3 things. What is it that we are aspiring to be as far as our values that we are aspiring to truly bring to life in this ministry? The other thing we did was we set a vision. How do we want to see the world around us? What do we want to bring into reality? And then the third thing was the mission, which is how we do that. What we are committing to as a community, as a congregation, as a spiritual family to step into. And so, do y'all want to know what we did? Yeah? Okay. All right. And guys, I'm fine with the banter. Okay? Matter of fact, I kind of have a good time with it. If you're not sure about that, ask Butch. So, okay, so if you will, share with us our core values. Peace, inclusivity, kindness, community, and wholeness. And so what we know is we as a community value this peace, and that peace begins where? Begins within each of us. And so we value peace because when it begins within us, then it spreads out and radiates across the planet. Inclusivity. We want to make sure that we are having thoughts, feelings, and actions that are inclusive of all beings. And I'm saying beings because, yes, people, but to me, inclusivity is more than just that. It may have to do with the physical person. It may have to do with their emotional being. It may have to do with their spiritual presence. But it also has to do with the planet around us. So for me, that inclusivity is everything. When we want to not just say you're welcome, but we want to be welcoming. We want to be engaging with all of that. Kindness kind of goes without saying. But what we want to make sure that we are valuing is kindness without boundaries. It's real easy to be kind to somebody who is kind, right? It's real easy to be kind to somebody who you see that is in need. But our charge now is to make sure that kindness is at the root of every interaction we have, no matter whether it's somebody with 3 eyes or purple hair or that just totally pushes every button we have. Because no matter what buttons we have, they're our buttons. And that individual did not necessarily have anything to do with them getting there. All right, so kindness. Kindness as a global, deeply embedded state of being for us. Community. Well, we've got that, right? We've got community. We do. I heard that a lot this weekend about how important this community is. And then we want to also say that we value community at a grander scale. We value community and the growth of that community and the love of that community and the support of that community and the engagement with that community. So it's not just one thing. It's not just what is, but it is what is becoming. Wholeness. And when we say wholeness, everybody gets a different image of what that is. But we talked yesterday at great length about this being wholeness of mind, body, and spirit. That we are not just a one-shot deal. We take in the whole being. We take in the mind. So there we're looking at spiritual growth and development and cognitive understanding. We're looking at body. Maybe that has to do with physical healing. Maybe it has to do with leading a healthier lifestyle. We don't know. It's what it is for you as an individual. And then we look into the wholeness of spirit. Yeah, so we're looking at spiritual feeding, spiritual nurturing, spiritual expansion. Because the greater that we do these things, the greater capacity we have to be whole in the mind and in the body and in the spirit, and integrating all of those together in our one sense of being and then as a community. So is wholeness just a personal thing? No, it's not. We're living on a planet right now that is in dire need of some wholeness. Because we have all sorts of things going on around us that put us in a position of really questioning where we're going to be this time next year, much less tomorrow or 10 years from now. And so as we value that wholeness for ourselves, because that's where it starts, then we move on and we value the wholeness in all things around us. Organizations, individuals, groups, clubs, countries, states, the cosmos. Because we're not limited. We're not limited. So what do you think? Do you think this really is who this community wants to be? Who we are aspiring to be? Do these feel like things that you can get behind? I hope so. I hope so. Because this is, we had a large, and I don't know if anybody ever did a count yesterday to see how many people we had, but we had a lot of folks here yesterday. 25, 30? Okay. All right, so we had a good number here. And we invited everybody to be here because we wanted every possible voice in the room that was available to us. So we're glad you guys are here. Let me go ahead and say one thing. Every time I speak, I take off my shoes because that's part of what grounds me. Because you don't want me flying off the stage, right? Because it could happen. And it'd just be lucky it's not summer because I would be totally barefoot. So there we go. I was at a congregation back in October, and I was speaking, and I took my shoes off, and I got up, and they're like, and I was being just a little cocky, and I said, don't you like them? And started all this stuff, and they just had the best time. In my church that I was with for 14 years, if I got up on the stage and I had my shoes on, they were like, you need to take your shoes off. What's going on? Are you okay? So anyway, so that's just part of who I am and part of what I do. So, all right, so are we all good with the core values? And we can do this. So moving forward, each Sunday you will be speaking these because as we speak things out, it has a greater potential of embedding in our consciousness and throwing it out into the universe. Because those with ears to hear, right? And so we will be speaking these things on Sunday mornings and everybody affirming them together because that's what helps us stay motivated and stay focused on where we are. So the next piece we did after we did this is we went, well, what is our vision? Now, vision is supposed to be something that is way out there, beyond what we would have a scope of understanding. And so the vision that the group came up with is we envision a world living in harmony and embracing infinite divine potential. Oh, take that in. Would y'all be willing to speak that out loud for me? Okay, let's do it. We envision a world living in harmony and embracing infinite divine potential. How does that feel? Isn't that great? Just to really move into that. And that's the vision. So we hold a dream. We talk about vision, we talk about dreams. It's all kind of the same thing. And so one of the reasons that I want us to make sure that we affirm this each week is, Charles Fillmore said, divine ideas are always seeking expression through you. By affirming them, you attract their manifestation into your life. And so that's why we want to make sure that on our daily routine, we are affirming these things to be true. We are claiming them. We are moving into them. So a world living in harmony. Can you imagine getting up in the morning and turning on the news, and all you heard were stories of love and compassion and peace and joy? That's all you heard. I mean, can't imagine it right now, can we? But let's try. Because we know that through that power of imaging and tapping into divine source and bringing it into that heart space of love, of excitement, of joy, then what we're doing is we are propelling that into manifestation. Okay, everybody take a deep breath. Feel your way into this. Does that feel like something you could hold as a vision? You know, we do it for inside first. So we envision myself living in harmony and embracing infinite divine potential. We do that. I do that for me first. Then we're going to do it for us. You know, we envision ourselves living in harmony and embracing infinite divine potential. Oh, and what happens when we get that? What happens when we truly buy into that and we truly make that part of our DNA? It radiates. It goes out. So then all of a sudden, we have a whole community. We have a town. We have a state. We have a country. We have a planet that's beginning to do it. It's not going to happen like that. I mean, it could, because we are present in a field of infinite potential. We could blink our eyes and all of a sudden it'd be true. We'd probably all have a little culture shock going on. You know, it's like, oh, what happened to the gunman? Oh, what happened to this, you know, to this greed or to this, all that? Let it go. Focus on that which you desire. And so that's our formula. You know, we hold it. So anytime we talk about a world or we talk about something, know that it is here first. And then it goes beyond that to the world around us. Well, so visions are great, and we're going to say this one every Sunday as well. And so it's great to have a vision. Now, the whole thing about a vision is it's usually something that is beyond our scope that we are even going to ever have. We're going to shoot for the stars, as I told them the other day. But how are we going to get there? What is our spaceship? What is it that we have to have in order to arrive at this vision? It's a mission. So we also developed our mission, which is the pathway. It is the roadmap to get there. So if you will go ahead and give me the next slide. So and it was a beautiful time of discussion. The whole room was in conversation. The whole room was sharing ideas. And then you take all these ideas and you bring them in. You chunk them down. You keep massaging them. You keep nurturing them. You keep bringing them about until it begins to look like something. You know? It's kind of fun because I don't know how many bakers we have in the room, but when you come in from the grocery store and you've got flour and sugar and vanilla and maybe some baking soda and some flavorings, and you've got maybe 15 things on your counter. It's hard to look at that and see a cake, isn't it? And so what we have to do is we have to use our imagination, and we know, though, that when we take all these things and put them together, that's what we're going to get. We have to know it. We have to claim it. And so that's what we do. We took all the ideas and we brought them all together because, believe me, if you saw some of the papers that we were dealing with, there would have been no way that you would have ever thought we could have come up with a cohesive statement or even a statement that you could read from all the stuff that was all over the walls. But we did it, didn't we, guys? So we get there through offering a shared experience of affirmative prayer, meditation, compassionate service, and spiritual dialogue to the world around us. Wow. And we might look at changing that word to with instead of to. But we'll talk about that. With the world around us. You know, so these are living, breathing documents. These are living, breathing things. And, you know, as I was typing them up last night, getting them ready for the slides, I thought, okay, we could tweak that or tweak this. But, you know, that's not what it's about. It's about the energy. It's about the passion. It's about the desires that are behind this. Affirmative prayer. Is that something y'all do? Well, that's an easy one. That's an easy one. And so one of the things that we've talked about this weekend, and I'll continue to talk about it with the board to see if it's something we want to do, is actually starting to do some classes. And, you know, I'm willing to zoom in and do them, or we'll find other ways to do them. But the first one I want to do actually is around the lost mode of prayer. And what we're talking about doing with that is really shifting our way of prayer to a form of prayer that goes back to the ancients. And it's the power. It's actually the prayer that Jesus, he talked to us about. It's the way of praying that Jesus talked to us about. So, that'll help us with our affirmative prayer piece. Meditation. You know, we have to do these things within ourselves and for ourselves as individuals and a community because we want to make sure that we got it, right? And then we open it out to the world around us more and more. You know, one of the pieces, and I want to go back to that offer a shared experience. So tell me how effective it would be to sit in this room. How does that get the word out if we just sit here? How does that share anything with anybody if we just sit here? I've not read anything anywhere in any sacred texts, in any of the Unity publications or Fillmore publications or anything that said, if you sit there, they will come. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So that means we have to be in action, right? We have to be willing. If we do a class, are you willing to invite somebody to come with you? Okay. If we were to have some meditation services, would you be willing to invite somebody to come with you? Okay. If we were, compassionate service. You guys are going to know what that looks like here better than I do because you know what things are in your area. I do a small group study in the area where I live, and anytime we do a study group together, we add 2 components to the study time. So we come together for maybe 6 weeks of study of a book or of a theory or an idea, but we always add 2 more pieces. We add a group fun time, because if we can't play together, then we're missing something. So we study together, we play together, and then we also do a service project together. And that service project this last time was, there was a local nursing home, and a lot of the folks there had no family, and so we went in and brought in some Christmas cheer and did some caroling and just visited with people who normally didn't get visitors. Simple, easy to do. No cost involved, other than a little bit of your space, your heart, and your time. And so we do those 3 components in these study groups because what happens is it creates a deeper bond. And these groups are always open to new people. And so we started with 12, and it wound up, because of some different things, it wound up being about 10. We just started a new study group. The first night was this past Wednesday. We had 12 show up, and there were 2 that were sick, so it's going to be 14. So see how it gradually grows? But it's because we are building that aspect, and part of it is compassionate service. Part of it is coming together and laughing together and playing together. Our playtime was they decided they wanted to come to my house, and we played games. So we did. We had a fun time. And what's cool is when you're doing stuff like this, you're seeing all age groups. I think our youngest was in her late 30s, and our oldest was 95. So we don't, it's really cool to have these experiences. So all of these things are possible. All of these things are what bring our mission to life. Spiritual dialogue. It could be a discussion group. It could be a Sunday service. It could just be, well, what do you think about forgiveness? Or what do you think about joy or peace? Or what does divine love mean to you? Dialogues. We're not trying to beat anything into anybody's head. We're just opening the channels for conversation. What we talked about this weekend and what we know to be a true thing is if I'm fired up, if I'm excited, if I'm feeling my joy and my passion around something, do you guys think you would know it? You think you'd be able to feel it? See it? Absolutely. And so the thing is for us to do the things within this ministry that are going to get you fired up on the inside. Put that burning desire inside to be your best, most divine self. One of the things they teach us when we're going through our studies, and this is part of metaphysics, is, many of us came from traditions where everything was to me. Things happen to me. The traditions where God may do something to you or for you, and I call that Santa God. Okay? And then we start our journey, and then we get to so God is working through me, and that kind of stuff. Well, that's all good, but that's also still putting God out there away from us, right? And we don't see that in unity. We see that we are one with that. And so when we are working through these things, what we need to grasp is the idea that our desire is to come to the point in consciousness where things are happening, and it is the divine presence as me. As me. I am the hands and the feet. I am the mouth of spirit, of source, whatever name you want to call it. And so it's moving to that place of, okay, so as a divine being and being in the expression of all that is sacred, all that is holy, all that is divine in consciousness, I want to share affirmative prayer. I want to share the experience of meditation. I want to share the experience of compassionate service. And I want to be in spiritual dialogue with everyone around me. And it doesn't have to be, the old beating somebody over the head with a Bible kind of thing. You can have spiritual dialogue with the checkout clerk at the store. And usually, you know how that starts? It starts with a smile that comes from your heart. It starts with a smile. I have my sushi lady at my local grocery store. And she's probably about this tall. And so for somebody, I'm short, and so for somebody to be shorter than me, she's really short. And when I go by, whether I'm getting anything or not, she's like, hi. And it started because we smiled at each other one day. And I had a dialogue. I saw her. See, that's what happens a lot of times. How many of you go in and out of a grocery store and get in the car, and if you were to stop and think about the people you saw in there, could even bring a face to mind? we have to see people. Before we can share, we have to see who's around us. Before we can share, we have to make a connection. And to me, that connection may start with a smile or a kind word. You know, now it's at the point where I walk in, and it was funny. So the reason I said that about the little lady is I have a pendant that's a Kuan Yin, which is the feminine power in Buddhism. And I had it on one day, and she said, and I got over closer to the counter, and she goes, "That's Kuan Yin." And I went, "Yeah." She goes, "You Buddhist?" And I went, "No, but I totally honor all Buddhist teachings." And she just got this big glow, and so we had a chat. So you never know what is going to open the door to that spiritual dialogue. It doesn't have to be something sitting in this building. Really, it has to be something that is starting in your heart and happening everywhere else you are. Because we should get it when we're here, right? When we're in this building, we know we're safe, we can have those conversations, we know what it's all about. But taking it into our everyday life, taking it, even if you go through the checkout, and how many of us have gone through checkout and you've got somebody checking you out and you're just not even sure how they got a job? It happens, right? Especially in these days when people can't find enough folks to work. Even when you've got that person, take a breath, pause, thank them for being there. Because it saves you from going through that self-checkout thing, right? Thank them for being there. And call them by name. Because when you call somebody by name, what you're doing is you're affirming that you see them. And we all want to be seen, right? We all want to be recognized. We all want to be engaged and valued. And so those are our first steps. So, what do you think? Do you think that this is something that you could be part of? You think this mission is a roadmap that would work for you in your personal life as well as for us as a community? Yeah? Okay. All right. And those of you that aren't sure, we'll give you a little time because we're going to hold on to this for a while. So let's say this together. To offer a shared experience of affirmative prayer, meditation, compassionate service, and spiritual dialogue with the world around us. Okay, is everybody okay if we change that to with? Okay, so we'll change that to with, and then we'll move forward from there. I shared this, and I'm going to wrap this up because I'm watching the clock, and I don't want to dishonor your time. Okay? I shared yesterday at the close how blessed this community is. I go into a lot of Unity churches, and through the years I've gone into a lot of Unity churches. I have a lot of friends who are Unity ministers, and I hear a lot of stories. You guys are amazing. You are blessed. You are sitting in a position to create such a change and a shift in the world. And not to put any pressure on you, but it's totally up to you. It's totally up to you. There's not a person in this room, and I'm serious when I say this, there is not a person in this room that doesn't have something to contribute. There's not a person in this room that doesn't have room for spiritual growth. And to know that I'm standing in this room. So I'm claiming that for myself as well. And so with your facility, with the core group of loving, supportive, caring individuals, you guys are set to continue on and change the world. And that world may be right here for now. But that's good. You got to start, right? That first step. So what do y'all think? Is it time? It's time. All right. So I challenge you. Hopefully at some point I'll be invited back. And I look forward to checking in and see how we're doing. And I'll be continuing to work with the board on helping flesh some of this out. There will be some more little things, little taglines that will come with your core values. We have a team that is going to be working on that from within the community. The board will also be looking at, when somebody, they'll be looking at things that you're going to be doing. Because the whole idea about having a vision and a mission and core values is that everything this ministry does, because you're becoming really more and more mission-centric, mission-focused. Everything this community does needs to feed into the mission, which feeds into the vision. And so there may be some ideas that come up that they can't figure out how it would fit. And so their answer may be no. Don't take it personally. Step into your 4 agreements. Don't take it personally, because we are on a mission. And the mission is to create this. And so we're going to get a pinpoint focus on the things we do and how we're going to do that to give direction. And I don't know about most of y'all, but when I've got parameters, when I've got a direction, it makes life easier for me. Because then I don't have to question it. Because we have enough questions in life, don't we? So, all right. So is there anything else I forgot? I can't think of it. Pardon? Meditation? Oh, I think we could do that, yeah. But before we go into that, is there anything else? What I will tell you is I've loved being here. Weather's not a thing. It's all temporary. And I spent years in the suburbs of Chicago and years in Nebraska, so this ain't nothing. This is nothing. So Travis, if you will join me up here. We're going to go into, and I like doing the meditation at the end because for me personally, I like to have a time at the end of the talk that we are anchoring the talk in our meditative consciousness. And so we're going to start your process now.
This very room, there's quite enough love for one like me. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for one like me. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For Jesus, Lord Jesus, is in this very this very room, there's quite enough love for one like me. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for one like me. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away For Jesus, Lord Jesus, is in this very room. And in this very room, there's quite enough love for one like me. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For Jesus, Lord Jesus, is in this very room.
And so we fully relax into our chairs. And if you haven't already, I invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze. And I invite you to take a deep breath. And as you breathe, I invite you to follow that breath down into your heart space area. And as we go into this time of meditation, I'm going to invite you to be in that heart space. And if you need to place your hand over your heart to help you bring focus to that, you're welcome to. Just to remember, as Charles Fillmore told us, this is the abode of God. That's the point of our divine connection. I like to think of the heart space as being that point of our infinite wisdom, that point of divine beingness. And as we go into this time, we affirm the power of visualization, of affirmation. We affirm that taking inspired action brings about the changes in our lives. We affirm that we are Spirit, Source, God, by whatever name, in action. We affirm that we are the example and the very presence of divine love in this moment and in every moment. We affirm that in all we do, we are acting in the wisdom of God consciousness. And as we move through this time, we allow ourselves to feel in that heart space in our solar plexus. Feel as we imagine bringing our vision and mission to life. We imagine that world, the world in harmony. We imagine a world living to their full divine potential. And as we image it, we give it power. As we image it, we bring it into reality. We imagine ourselves being the catalyst for those things coming about to create that vision. We imagine ourselves being the example of love. We demonstrate through our affirmative prayer practices. We demonstrate through meditation. We demonstrate through spiritual dialogues and sacred service to ourselves and the world around us. And we breathe life into this experience. For if not us, who? If not now, when? It is time. It is the place. And it is what's next for this sacred community. It is what's next for each of us as individuals. And we breathe into that, allowing that idea, that consciousness, that vibratory essence to fill every cell of our being. And as it does, it radiates not only within us, but out around us. And as each of us connect one to one in this space, that radiant experience goes out beyond the walls of this building. It spreads beyond the borders of the cities and townships and municipalities. It spreads beyond the borders of the state and goes out. And oh, the joy we feel as we see this unfolding for us and for those around us. Oh, yes. Oh, can you feel it? Yes. And so as we come together in this vein of consciousness, I invite us to take for a few moments, we go into some silence. And in that silence, we allow that feeling to continue to escalate, that vibration to continue to elevate. Oh, as we are in harmony with Source. We are in harmony with our higher selves. So I continue to ask you to feel it as we're in the silence. In the silence. Oh, what joy. What joy we feel, what joy we experience when we allow ourselves to be that very presence of Spirit. And so as we begin to come back to this time, to this place, to this now moment, we bring with us those feelings, that excitement, that joy of knowing who we are and what is ours to do and be. Oh, and we are blessed. And as we are blessed, we allow that feeling of gratitude to wash over us. Oh, yes. We are here now, and we are ready. And we say yes. Yes, yes, yes. And in that yes, we grow. In that yes, we live and breathe the truth of who we are, spiritual beings, right here, right now. And in the gratitude of all that is, we say, Amen. And so it is. I thank you all so much. You have been a blessing to me, and I cannot share with you how much of my heart you have already become part of. Namaste.